Hey guys, it's me, Colin, Project Constitution. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you Baron Coleman's live stream, or at least the condensed version I cut with just the relevant information to what I'm talking about here with Zach Qureshi. But as you see behind me, we have a new old suspect, which is Zach Qureshi, this guy right here. He was the second one detained in the Charlie Kirk investigation. As Baron points out, this guy was the one that was seen wearing a black tactical vest, black clothing, possible rifle, and a Toyota Corolla, driving from hospital to hospital looking for the victim, which would be Charlie Kirk. And then FBI agents, swarmed his apartment and detained him or whatever. Although they released him and said, "Oh, sorry, not the guy. We made a mistake." And then the media went on a big, huge propaganda campaign to let everybody know that this is definitely not the guy. He's definitely not involved, which definitely raises some eyebrows, especially considering what we know now. So I want to pull up what Baron showed you yesterday. But first, I want to show you guys something else that I found that he missed, which is this guy, Zach Qureshi, actually has two brothers that we know of. And all of them, by the way, his father, ex-military, his one brother, Zane Careshi, in the military. Here's the thing that he missed is he has another brother named Tom Qureshi, who is also in the military and intelligence. And by the way, he is stationed at Fort Huachuca. So obviously, Fort Huachuca is very relevant to our storyline here, which makes me think that he is involved. Okay, so as I said, this guy has a second brother named Tom Qureshi. As you see, there's his picture there. There's his Facebook. And he is stationed at Fort Huachuca. And we know this because of this right here. Congratulations to Catherine Schmidt, female, first place. Tom Qureshi, male, first place. And Wyatt, blah, 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 blah. And this is the Fort Huachuca St. Patty's Day 5K and Leprechaun Run, which is from the base. That's one of the base accounts. So there you guys go. So this guy, not only is Zach deeply involved in military intelligence, his father deeply involved in intelligence, his brother military. Oh, father's also military. This is his father, by the way. Mohammed Qureshi. That's his father. And another thing about his father, too, is his father was stationed in what he calls North Camp in this. Let me show you this right here. So in this post that has Zach Qureshi and a bunch of other people or whatever, down in the comments, you have them talking about it here. Jan McBride, very nice. I remember your children so long ago. And then Ahmed Careshi, which is the father, says, Sister McBride, I remember you from North Camp days. Far right is Nathan Henderson, one of President Henderson and Joyce Henderson's sons. He has a twin named Rich. And then Jan replied, oh, I remember you, Ahmed. Just so long ago. Henderson looks like his dad. Thanks for the update. Barely remember North Camp. Ha ha. So what they are referring to, by the way, when it comes to North Camp is, one second here, and I'll share this with you. Okay, so they were mentioning North Camp, okay? So we can now show that North Camp, they were referring to the Forward Operating Base North, MFO, which is the Multinational Force and Observers North Camp, located in the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt. It is a central self-sufficient base for international peacekeeping forces monitoring the security treaty between Egypt and Israel. So, what two players do we have involved in the Charlie Kirk assassination? Egypt and Israel. We have the Egyptian jets. We have all the Israeli cell phones, all the Google Trend spikes from Israel. So right there. So you tell me that these people are not involved. You have the father who was stationed in Egypt, connected to Egypt and Israel. You have both the brothers in the military and also connected in the intelligence. We have the father connected to the military and intelligence. And then you have Zach, which on the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination was seen wearing all black with a tactical vest and a rifle, or alleged with a rifle, driving around from hospital to hospital looking for Charlie Kirk. So, yeah, there's definitely something up with this family. I think they're definitely involved. And I think the media, as Baron said in the show, the Mockingbird media coming out and immediately saying, oh, he's completely innocent. Leave him alone. How dare you? This is absurd. Is it really absurd, though? Look at all these connections. Knowing what we know now, look at all these connections. I'm going to leave you guys with that. I'm going to let you guys see the condensed version of what Baron just showed on his live stream last night, and I'll let you check that out. Although I would highly suggest that you guys all go watch his whole live stream, because I cut out a whole bunch of information that actually is important if you're investigating this and you want to really understand why these people are involved and where everybody was on that day. That you're going to have to go check out his full live stream to see it. So this is just like the main bits that are relevant to what I'm talking about, but you should definitely go check out his full stream, and I will link that below like I normally do. Oh, by the way, anybody who's been helping with the fundraiser for my dad, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. My dad is doing not really better, but he's not doing worse. He did fail his swallow test again today. So they will definitely be putting in the feeding tube in his stomach now. But we are in good spirits and we are going to get through it. So if you would like to still donate to the fundraiser, you can do that. I'll make sure to link that below as well. And love you all. Appreciate you all. Thanks for watching.
This was a news story in the day after, the very day after the Charlie Kirk event. And it identified a guy, and I'd kind of forgotten all about it. There was a guy that was detained. It doesn't say arrested, but detained in the first few hours after Charlie Kirk went down, and his name was Zachariah Qureshi. His full name is Zachariah Ahmed Careshi. I heard that name initially, and I thought, oh, there's a Muslim component. There must be a Muslim component to this. Well, there's not. He is Mormon. He is a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints. And he is an active member. Like, he went on his mission. He went to BYU. He actually just got married in the last few months. And he is an interesting character. I'm going to dive a little deeper into him, because when we were doing the timeline last night, his name actually came up multiple times, if you recall.
The manhunt for Charlie Kirk's killers stretches into another day. Authorities looking for this person of interest they need help identifying. But as police continue their search,
we located a couple of persons of interest.
A North Texas family who calls this 25-year-old their son says the search for truth has already cost them.
And after clearing them of being suspects, they face scrutiny. They face threats.
Those threats, the scrutiny, underscored by Utah DPS Commissioner Beau Thursday, fell partly on Zach Qureshi Wednesday. He was questioned after Kirk's murder, named the second person of interest that day. Initially, FBI Director Kash Patel called him the subject for this horrific shooting on X. But after an interrogation, he was cleared. Not before, however, at least one major media outlet named him. Social media users then started peering into Careshi's life. This is just one post. It has 25,000 views displaying Careshi's BYU student photo. His background on LinkedIn is also uploaded online. His family's home address in North Texas posted too. Very little of it has been taken down. His family tells us they were never told why he was questioned in the first place.
They don't deserve that harassment for being subject to that.
Careshi's mother, who lives in North Texas, spoke with us by phone Thursday, saying local police are ensuring their safety. We're not saying where to respect their privacy. She mentioned Careshi graduated from a North Texas high school and then BYU. He lives in Utah now, newly engaged, and an MBA student. She went on to say that her son was in the crowd when Kirk was shot. The 25-year-old has attended a Turning Point USA event before and is devastated for Kirk's family, his mother said. In Utah, the manhunt goes on. But for Careshi, his family asks, the finger pointing at them, to stop.
I want to go next to an article that mentions his father. And his father gives us an idea of where was Zachariah Qureshi in the time when Charlie Kirk was first taken down, as well as where he was in the hours after Charlie Kirk was taken down. So this is the article here. It's headlined, absolutely uncalled for and insane. This is the family of a person of interest interrogated by police on Charlie Kirk's assassination speaks out. So here is what we have. This is the father's quote. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely uncalled for and insane. This is the father of the man detained by police. That is Zachariah Qureshi's father. We'll talk about him in a minute, but just For now, let's just assume he's the father. Now, I want to scroll down because it's going to give us some biographical information. Zach Qureshi, a resident of Provo, returned Latter-day Saint missionary, attended the event as a supporter. Qureshi's father told the news organization that his son was mistakenly detained by police and his son has absolutely no role in the assassination. Well, what was his son doing? Careshi said he was in line to ask a question. I'll say this. If that's true, I cannot find evidence of that. I've looked at every video, every photograph I can find. I don't see him in line to ask a question, but I admittedly don't know that I've seen the entire line to ask a question. But his father says he was in line to ask a question. He was just 20 feet away when the shooting occurred. He said his son went back to his Provo apartment before being found by federal agents and police officers who brought him in to be interrogated, despite there being no evidence to implicate him in the assassination. So he was released and then cleared. This is according to DPS Commissioner Beau Mason, who, as we looked at the very beginning of my investigation into the Charlie Kirk taking downing, we recall Beau Mason appeared quite prominently in the Google Trend searches overseas and in the District of Columbia here in these United States. And so what was it about this guy that landed him on the radar? We're going to look at that. And to do so, we got to go back and listen to some of the audio clips that popped up last night. And I'm going to pull those up and we will listen to them together, because the first time his name is mentioned is at 3:11 p.m. 3:11 p.m. Now, just to give you an idea of when this is relative to the Charlie Kirk Big Bang, the Big Bang happened at 12:23. So at 12:23 to 3:11 is almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. That's plenty of time for anyone who was at the event to get home. Because his dad, if you recall, said he had gone back to his apartment and he didn't know why he was detained. It was just a comedy of errors. So what did the police say that this guy was doing in the meantime? So we'll listen to this, and you guys tell me if his story lines up to his dad's story.
Continuing attempt to locate active shooter suspect. Pulled up in a black mask, possibly carrying a rifle. Toyota Corolla, S820 Bravo Lima. Suspect possible name Zach Qureshi, date of birth 5/12/2000. The male is going from hospital to hospital looking for the victim. Again, use 10-0. Notify located in details 1511.
So if you didn't hear it, I'll read you the transcript here. Continuing to locate active shooter suspect, tactical vest and a black mask, possibly carrying a rifle. Who do they identify that person as? Driving a Toyota Corolla. Then they give a license plate. Then they say suspect possible name, Zach Qureshi. Then they give a birth date. To spoil the surprise, it's his birthday. The male is going from hospital to hospital looking for the victim. Then they say use 10-0. 10-0. That is extreme caution. Use extreme caution and notify if located. Then they identify the time of that broadcast as 1511. And they go on and do a description one more time just in case you didn't get it. It's coming up.
Height 5'11", 198 pounds. Hazel eyes, blonde hair. Male. End of broadcast 1511.
So again, end of broadcast 1511. Height 5'11", 198, hazel eyes, blonde hair, male. That is an accurate description of the guy we just looked at. That is an accurate description of the guy that was just picked up. They also said the guy was in a tactical vest, a black mask, possibly carrying a rifle, and going from hospital to hospital looking for the victim. I am trying to find an innocent explanation for that. I'm trying to find an innocent explanation for why anyone would think he's doing that if he wasn't doing that. His dad said he just went back to his apartment. Well, if he just went back to his apartment, why is anyone trying to track him down? Again, let's just go through the timeline. 12:23, you have the Big Bang. He lives a couple of miles away from campus. He could have walked it 10 times in that period of time. And he's still out there. And the police say he's in that car going hospital to hospital looking for the victim and may have a rifle. That's oddly specific. That's oddly specific information. To have a license plate number, a description of the car, a description of the suspect. Is that the only broadcast about this. Actually, no, there's more.
Those also have male carrying a black bag with tan straps, possibly driving a 2016 black Toyota Corolla, 28 Sierra 820 Bravo Lima. Suspect is Zach Qureshi, 512 of 2000. Male is going hospital to hospital looking for the victim. Test 1512.
In the broadcast 1512. So this is now 3:12 p.m. They still have not identified, they still have not located this person. They're still on the lookout for him. And someone in police world out there is reporting that he's out there going hospital to hospital in this car, fitting his own description, looking for Charlie Kirk. That's a weird set of facts. That's the type of facts that will have federal agents and state law enforcement showing up at your door. So let's go one more description here. Actually, we have two more, but here's one more in this immediate time period right here. And they'll tell us where he was and when. And I don't know if they're using the flock cameras or they have their own traffic cameras, or this was an officer spotted him or somebody made a phone call and said, I'm looking at him. But there's very specific time period here where he was last seen.
20 Bravo Lima, Sierra 82 Bravo Lima local, last seen eastbound University Parkway in Orem. About 6 minutes ago now. Correction, about 14 minutes ago now. No ID on the shooter at this time.
So they're saying 14 minutes ago. Now, this broadcast was at 3:17 p.m. And what the dispatcher is saying is at 3:03 p.m., and that's an oddly specific time. It's not like we saw him a little bit ago or in the last 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, they're talking to the minute. 14 minutes ago. 14 minutes ago, he was last seen eastbound on University Parkway. I will pull up a map and we can look at East University Parkway, or we can look at University Parkway ourselves, and we can get an idea of where he was last seen, because it is telling about what he was doing. I'll have to pull up a Google Maps version because Earth does not have the labels of the roads in here. This one does. This one does. All right. Here is University Parkway. This is University Parkway right here. It's this, not the Walmart. We're not going to Walmart, people. We're not those people tonight. All right. So here's where Charlie Kirk was taken down. You guys recall this. If you zoom out, this is University Parkway right here. This spotting was after 3 p.m. Almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours after Charlie Kirk was taken down. He's spotted going east on University Parkway. So he's driving right next to the campus on University Parkway. Now, maybe he was on this side of the interstate, but University Parkway ends right here. Maybe he was a little further over here to drive east. I mean, maybe he was in front of the strip mall across from campus, but he was close. And so what we have here is we have a series of dispatches from the police that say they've spotted this guy going hospital to hospital looking for the suspect. We have a series of dispatches that say he may be armed. He may have a rifle and is wearing tactical gear. We have a series of dispatches that accurately describe him as 5'11", blonde hair, hazel eyes. That's a very accurate description. We have a series of broadcasts that accurately describe his vehicle. It's a Toyota Corolla, black. We have a series of broadcasts that accurately give his license plate. And then you have a very specific time, 3:03 p.m., 3:02, maybe 3:03, where he was seen right next to campus, driving east. And if you look around, there are 3 or 4 different hospitals in the area. I would submit to you, he went to at least 2, because they said he's going from hospital to hospital looking for the victim. This is problematic. This is really problematic just now, and we've not even gone any further than this, and we will tonight. We will go much further. But we've already spotted a problematic set of facts. We've got a young man who's in the right age range to know these people, perhaps. I don't know. Early 20s. We've got a young man in his early 20s that the police are looking for because he's allegedly doing suspicious things. And we also have another fact that I think is critical, is that his father said he went home. He went to his apartment. Well, you can't go to your apartment, also go hospital to hospital, and drive down University Parkway. Those two things are incompatible. And so his father, right now, I look and say, I don't believe what his father's saying. Notice they didn't quote the kid. They only quoted the father. Now I'm intrigued. We have one more broadcast that I want to play, and then we will look a little further at who is this guy. One more quick broadcast I want to play. This one's only about 5 seconds, so this is going to be a quick one. And so this broadcast I'm going to play here corresponds to 4:45 p.m. 4:45 p.m. Now, I want you to listen to the name that is identified.
It's an apartment in Provo. Zachariah's landlord.
So they're going to an apartment in Provo. Zachariah's landlord. That's what they said. Now, why are they needing to get in touch with the landlord if Zachariah's there? Because his dad said he went back to the apartment. Dad said he went back to the apartment. The police department disagrees. The police department says somebody matching his description, matching his car's description, matching his car's license plate, is driving hospital to hospital, perhaps with a gun, dressed in all black, looking for the victim, looking for Charlie Kirk. The police department says he's driving down University Parkway at 3:03. The police department says they're needing to talk to his landlord at 4:45 p.m. And so we have to ask, now that we've looked at all this, now that we've opened the discussion on the fact that I don't believe his father, the fact that I'm weirded out by all these facts, they detained him, they questioned him, and then they just let him go with no charges. I'm curious who this guy is. Now, I will preface everything I'm going to say tonight. Unless your name is Candace Owens, because she obviously doesn't listen to me. She takes every piece of advice I give, and she just disregards it. But unless your name is Candace Owens, please don't reach out to this guy. Don't knock on his door. Don't text him. Don't comment on his Facebook pages. Don't comment on Instagram. Don't try to track him down. Don't try to interfere with him. Just leave him alone. Let me speak authoritatively. Who is this guy? What do we know about him? This is Zachariah Qureshi. He is a senior analyst at Epic Ventures. He lives in, apparently, Salt Lake City, Utah. I think he lives in Provo. I don't know why it says Salt Lake. Here's about him: global business and Middle East studies, interested in B2B software as a service, emerging markets, global political risks, speaks Dutch and Arabic. And again, this guy's a member of the LDS Church. He is not a member of Islam. He's not any Middle Eastern religions or anything like that. Now, let's look at his bio a little bit. I think it'll give us a little indication of more about him here. Let's start at the bottom. He went on a mission trip to the Netherlands. That was his mission trip. Went on a mission trip to the Netherlands. We'll talk about that in just a second. Then he went to BYU. When he finished BYU, he became a student assistant in the Arabic flagship program. He became a teaching assistant in the Department of Asian and Near Eastern Studies. Then he goes into the private sector here and becomes a business analyst intern in the Washington, D.C. area. Then he goes to Oman. He goes to Oman for a company called Phase Ventures as an intern. Then he goes to Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation is like the grown-up version of TPUSA. The Heritage Foundation, if you're not familiar with Heritage Foundation, look it up. When Donald Trump got elected the first time in 2016, I had a lot of friends that applied to go work with the Trump administration. Several of them got jobs. There's something called the Plum Book. The Plum Book, when you go to work, when you become the new president, they put the president gets thousands of appointments, like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 appointments. And the president doesn't know that many people, so he relies on staff. And they have something called a Plum Book. And this Plum Book advertises all the available appointments. And it's from low level to high level, like the attorney general's in there. And so is like the guy at some little agency you've never heard of who's deputy general counsel. They're all in there. So I looked into it because I had friends calling me saying, hey, I want to go work for the Trump administration. What do I need to do? I said, well, you're going to need to look in the Plum Book. And then so I called around. And I finally found somebody who knew what the heck they were talking about. And they said, no. Trump isn't vetting people. Heritage is. I said, what? Yeah, Heritage Foundation's doing all the hiring. They're doing all the appointments. So this is not some fly-by-night charity. This is a charity that has significant pull in Washington, D.C. Significant pull in Washington, D.C. They're the ones that came up with Project 2025 that all the Democrats were freaking out about. Oh, if Trump gets in, he's going to institute Project 2025. That was a Heritage paper. They're a big deal. They're a big deal. So he goes to work at Heritage in Washington, D.C. So he goes Washington, D.C. to Oman, Jordan, back to Washington, D.C. And while he's there, he's assigned to the Davis Institute for National Security and Foreign Policy. He drafts policy recommendations, identifies opportunities. He researches blind spots and weak points where foreign governments are susceptible to foreign infiltration. State and local governments are susceptible to foreign infiltration. So he's doing like big boy work. He's only there a few months, but he's getting involved in Washington, D.C. big boy politics. Then he goes to work as a sales intern at Built Incorporated. We'll revisit this in just a moment. Who is Built? But it's in Texas. It's where he's from. He's originally from Texas, the Fort Worth area, the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area. So he goes to Built, and he's there for a few months. Then he goes into the educational field, and he becomes a CASA Fellow at Boren Scholar at the Institute of International Education. The IIE works closely with the United States Department of State. This is, I'm not saying it's like a spy operation operating as an NGO, but it kind of looks like a spy operation operating as an NGO, for being honest. They put teachers in foreign countries. And so he applies and is selected for the Center for Arabic Study Abroad program for intensive Arabic language, culture, and area studies, training at Qasid Arabic Institute in Amman, Jordan. And he finally leaves there after 10 months, and he stays in the public sector and goes to the University of Utah and starts working as a senior analyst with University of Utah Ventures. And if you guys know, the University of Utah is like Utah Valley University, let's just admit it, it's a spy training school, guys. It's just what it is. We'll talk about that in a second. So he's a senior analyst for University of Utah Ventures, and simultaneously, he's a senior analyst for Epic Ventures. And Epic Ventures is a venture capital firm that invests in technology companies with a focus on SaaS, healthcare, security, and future of work sectors. And if you dig into this, what you'll find is Epic and Utah Ventures, University of Utah Ventures, they teamed up for a $200 million investment. Epic Ventures, where this guy works, made a $200 million investment into University of Utah Ventures. That is not small time investing. That is big boy business. This guy's working for both of these entities. And he's a senior analyst. And recall, he speaks Dutch and Arabic, and he has all this stuff. He was an Arabic linguist at the LDS Church. Still is, I guess. And he went to BYU, and he's fully proficient in Arabic and Dutch, and he was an Eagle Scout. So this is who he is. Now, that's just a primer, right? We've got more. This is the Association of the United States Navy, supporting America's sailors through advocacy, community, and educational resources. Here is young Zachariah Qureshi working with the United States Navy on Middle East studies, Arabic. So, again, we're not talking about somebody who's not very connected. Let me show you a little bit about not just what's going on with young Zachariah Qureshi. Let me show you potentially what's going on with TPUSA in general. As we know, they have a significant LDS population at the very highest ranks of TPUSA. So I thought, is there any connection between TPUSA and intelligence? Is there any connection between the LDS and intelligence? Well, the truth about government agencies' rumored special interest in recruiting LDS turns out to be more nuanced. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have long been rumored to be special targets. Make this a little bigger for you so you can see it. Special targets for recruitment in government and security agencies. 1971, a Ramparts magazine article claimed the LDS provided both the CIA and FBI with some of their best men. 1981, AP story. CIA does some of its most successful recruiting in predominantly LDS Utah. 2015, Atlas Obscura article headlined Why Mormons Make Great FBI Recruits. Notes that agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA see Mormons as particularly desirable recruits and have a reputation for hiring a disproportionate number of people who belong to the church. 2017 book, FBI and Religion, dedicates a full chapter to the connection, calling church members a natural recruiting ground for agents Tracy Walder, a former CIA officer and special agent and author of The Unexpected Spy, says the rumor was so common internally that by the time she worked for the government, it had become a running joke that Mormons are what the agency wanted in their recruitment. So this is just a taste of perhaps what we're looking at. So is that the only thing? Well, no, as a matter of fact, it's not. Here is that Atlas Obscura article. What sparked rumors of a Mormon mafia? Why Mormons make great FBI recruits. When the Pew Research Center surveyed Mormons in America about their place in society, more than 60% of participants said Americans are uninformed about Mormonism. They make up about 2% of the American population, but they're not sure the rest of the country quite understands or accepts them. They describe misperceptions as a lack of acceptance in American society. But there's at least one place where they found an unusual degree of acceptance. Agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the CIA, which see Mormons as particularly desirable recruits. And this article is just littered with examples. And the article I can't get to pull up talks about how the Netherlands, the Dutch, had an unbelievably close relationship with American intelligence agencies up until the last couple of years. Like in 23 or 24, that all started to dissipate a little bit. But I don't buy it. I don't believe it's dissipated at all. I think that's a planted story to try to throw people off the scent. The reality is there are tremendous international institutions headquartered in the Netherlands, as well as all of Europe's natural gas infrastructure pretty much running through the Netherlands at some point or the other. And if you're in the Netherlands and you talk to somebody with an American accent, you're probably talking to someone in intelligence. That's the point of the article that I can't get to pull up. So let's see. Now we know a little bit about Zachariah Qureshi. We know a little bit about where he's worked. We know a little bit about his biography. We know a little bit about why police were looking for him. I'm a little weirded out that somebody who had that description on the police radio dispatch, who had that description of going hospital to hospital looking for the victim, I'm a little weirded out that he wasn't even arrested, or that we weren't given a firm explanation. Because if we didn't have the radio broadcast, all we would have is the news articles, and it's just slop. It's just total Fed slop. We'd looked at him. We just got the wrong guy. There was never an explanation of why they picked him up. Not in any of the articles. You have to listen to the raw radio broadcast, the raw dispatch. And when you listen to the raw dispatch, you're like, no wonder they picked him up. Thank God they picked him up. Why didn't they arrest him? Is it true? Was he doing this? I would like an explanation from the news media or from the FBI or from local police agencies. I would like an explanation that says, well, here's why we had these radio dispatches. We thought he was going hospital to hospital looking for the victim. And we thought it was a guy in a Toyota Corolla, and we thought it had the same license plate, and we thought it matched his description. Here's why we were mistaken. Because if you're not mistaken, why didn't you arrest him? Why'd you let him go? Why no explanation for what happened to him? So let's look at his father. Let's look at his father, because sometimes you look at the family of people and you go, aha, now I get what's going on. Now I understand it. So let's look at his father real quick and see if we can get any indication as to where Zachariah Qureshi comes from. This is his dad. He's a young guy. Zachariah Qureshi's father is a guy named Ahmed Careshi. He's the co-founder, president, and COO of a company called Built, B-I-L-T. You'll recognize that from Zachariah's resume. He is Built is a company that made a revolutionary app utilizing 3D technology to deliver instructions on how to use equipment. So let's look a little bit about his life, his childhood in Saudi Arabia, his majoring in Middle Eastern studies at BYU, his helping Papa John's expand internationally. I will attest to you that that's in the Middle East. We'll show that in just a second. While serving his country in the reserves. We'll look at his military career in just a moment. What does he do there? Here is his bio. Ahmed Careshi is a global business executive, consultant, entrepreneur, national security professional who has more than 30 years experience living, studying, and working both at home in the United States and abroad. He's worked for multinational corporations, his own startup firms, advised organizations on cross-cultural team building. And then it gives you a little bit about what he does here. In 2004, he co-founded Harbinger Technologies Group, where he helped develop entity resolution software and oversee the training of more than 35,000 law enforcement and military personnel. From 2004 to 2017, he was an adjunct professor at the United States Air Force Special Operations School. He's a graduate of Middle Eastern Studies program at BYU. He has an MBA at the Thunderberg School of Global Management. That's Arizona State University. He was at the Naval War College Command and Staff Program, a Joint Forces Staff College program, and was a year-long Fulbright grantee to the University of Jordan in Amman. He got a doctorate where he wrote on U.S. policy and military decision-making in counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations. He's been a drilling reservist since 1992, deployed overseas for various operations and training missions, and currently resides in Dallas-Fort Worth area with his family. This according at least to his bio that I'm assuming he provided to this podcast. Not this podcast, the podcast I was quoting from on Apple right there. So let's drill in a little bit more because it's the reality is actually even more exciting. The reality of Zachariah Qureshi's father, Ahmed Qureshi, is actually a little more interesting than what we just looked at. Let's scroll down to his experience. This is built. We'll come back to that in a moment. Here's his time in the United States Navy. He has a commissioned officer in the United States Navy for 26 years. We'll start at the bottom. Officer in training, deputy department head. He was in 01. This was up until 2002. At some point, he becomes an 02 here in 2002 to 2003. He becomes an 03 from 2003 to 2008. He becomes an 04 in 2008 to 2011. He's an advisor and regional subject matter expert here as an 04. He's a deputy analytic branch chief as an 04. He gets a promotion here to be a commanding officer as an 05. That's the Army equivalent of a lieutenant colonel in 05. That's a big boy job. That's what they call a commander. But that's a lieutenant colonel in the Army, the Air Force, or the Marines. But the Navy uses weird terminology. So that would be a commander. Then he's national staff officer as an 05. Then he becomes an 06. This is the equivalent of a full bird colonel in the other branches. He's a captain now. Captain is an 03 in the Army. It's a 06 in the Navy. So he's the commanding officer of the West Coast for 2 years. And now he's the commanding officer of the East Coast. So this isn't somebody, this guy is not just some schlub off the street. He worked at DynCorp for a little while in the Washington, D.C. area. DynCorp is a massive military contractor. We talked about the Harbinger Technologies and working and training military and law enforcement there. This is where he was international business manager, Middle East and North Africa for Papa John's. Prior to becoming a commissioned officer 26 years ago, he actually spent 8 years in the Army National Guard and the Army Reserves before that in Utah, Texas, and Kansas. In the meantime, he was an intern for a United States senator in the D.C. area on the Middle East Subcommittee on the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. And he did his Mormon mission in Canada. So that is Ahmed Qureshi. And he got a PhD, of course, overseas in London in Middle East and Mediterranean studies. And these are all his certificates here. Airborne course, all this stuff. Yeah, I don't know what all this means, but those are some things he got while he was there. So that's his dad. That's the dad of the guy who police radioed in and said he's going hospital to hospital looking for Charlie Kirk, and he might have a gun. Lest you think I'm done. You remember the company we mentioned, Built? Well, Built is a defense contractor. And I want to detail a little timeline with the defense contracts that they have received, because it's an interesting timeline for me. But I want to make sure I have it pulled up correctly before I share it with you, because I don't want you to see me squirreling it around over here. All right, here we go. Let me make sure I have it right. Yes. Here we go. So we'll start at the bottom. This is the company that Zachariah Qureshi's father works for. This is built. I'm getting this directly off of USA Spending, right? USA Spending has all the federal expenditures that they can legally put up here or on here to contractors. This is built. They get their first little contract is a $50,000 contract way back in 2019. 2019, they just get a little $50,000 contract. It's got a 3-month pop period of performance, just 3 months, $50,000, but it gets them going, right? They're off the ground running. Then they get this next contract here, and it's big, $3.1 million. This $3.1 million contract was all the way back in 2020. So after that, we're going to show you here the timeline just because it'll get you there. After 2020, we've got a series of contracts here that frankly just aren't that big. I mean, they're big. They're big for like a single family income, but if you're trying to run a business, they're not huge. We've got 185,000. We've got 49,000. But we get this big $3.1 million contract way back in 2020. And then we got just a series over the next few years of smaller contracts. Just a little 1 million, but again, nothing major, nothing crazy. Until this one, boom, 4.9, 2.4. Well, when the hell were these contracts? When were these contracts? I'll tell you what, I'll be really suspicious if these contracts were in the planning phases of the Charlie Kirk event at Utah Valley University. I'll be really suspicious because we said the Utah Valley University event was probably beginning to be planned around June. The exiting of Charlie Kirk from this mortal plane, we estimated, based on our investigation, started around March or April and really heated up in June and July. So when were these massive $7.5 million worth of contracts on a company who had not had much more than one single contract of any value in the previous 4 or 5 years? When was this one? Let's look here. It's these, I'll make it the top 2 lines. Let's look together and see when these 2 contracts were. June 1 and June 16 of 2025. June 1 and June 16 of 2025. This is precisely when I estimated in my very earliest episodes I did on the Charlie Kirk investigation. This is exactly when I said the planning went up in earnest and the decision was made to remove him. And how did I decide that? Look at the Google Trends and when they really kicked up and started. It was June of 2025. Prior to that, you could find almost nothing. But if you just look at these numbers in context, look at these 2 numbers, then you got this little one here. You've got $250,000, 200 and something thousand, $500,000, $750,000. This is over years. You got this one little $1 million contract, and then it's 75, 49, 49, 185. And then again, you got to go back 6 years before you find another contract worth much more than $1 million. But you have back-to-back contracts in June of 2025 worth $7.5 million. That is a massive amount of money for a company that had not previously won those kind of contracts. A massive amount of money. If I do this, you won't be able to see it, but I wanted to. What was the biggest one for? These are SBIRs, small business research contracts for munitions. Look at those, 5 million and 2.5 million back to back in 2 weeks. Right as the planning gets underway. But Baron, are you saying definitively, you know for a solid gold fact that the Careshi family was involved in taking out Charlie Kirk? No, I'm not saying that at all. Of course not. You didn't hear those words come out of my mouth. But Baron, why are you saying all this then if you're not making that leap? Well, because I don't make leaps. I don't draw conclusions. I give you facts. We generate investigatory tips so that the hundreds of thousands of people who will see this will begin looking into this. They'll begin looking into the Careshi family. They'll begin looking into these contracts. They'll begin looking into Ahmed. They'll begin looking into Zechariah. Who is Zechariah's business partner? Lest you thought we were done with the investigation. Who is Zechariah's business partner? Not Zechariah. Who's Ahmed's business partner at Built? Well, this is Nate Henderson. Let me introduce you to Nate Henderson. You'll see here they both went to the Thunderbird School of Global Management at Arizona State University, both Ahmed and Nate Henderson. They both are founders of Built Technologies, or Built Incorporated. If you dig, you'll find I believe they met while serving overseas in Saudi Arabia on various jobs. Built it looks like it was spun off of SAP, the massive technology company. He also went to BYU. Why am I showing you this guy? Well, I think I've located his son, believe it or not. And this guy's son has an interesting LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure this is it. Let me say this is allegedly his son. And I'm 98% confident it's son, maybe even 99%. But I want you to see what this guy does for a living. Because it shocked me when I found it. It absolutely stunned me when we came across this. I'm almost confident this is the son of the guy who founded the business with Ahmed Qureshi. He is an ED scribe at Timpanogos Regional Hospital. The ED is the emergency department. A lot of us call that the emergency room. So he is an employee of the hospital where they took Charlie Kirk. He's an employee of the emergency room where they took Charlie Kirk. And he's a scribe. So the scribes are there. As the doctors are doing things, the scribes are putting in the notes. That's what they do. But I want to go one step further. Does this guy look familiar to you? Does he look familiar to you? Like if you put sunglasses on him and a hat, does he look familiar? I mean, he kind of reminds me of somebody. I'm having trouble placing where I've seen this guy before. He kind of reminds me of somebody. He sort of, maybe, kind of, in some way, looks like perhaps this guy? Maybe a little bit? In some way, he kind of reminds me of this guy over here. Does he kind of look like that to you? I mean, I can't say for sure, but he kind of looks more like that guy than Charlie Kirk does. I mean, than Tyler Robinson does. And if you look at this one, he really starts looking like him, in my opinion. He looks a lot like him to me. I don't know. I'm not saying it's him. Again, I don't want anyone contacting this guy. He just kind of looks like that guy to me. As I kept going back and forth, I thought, man, where have I seen this guy before? Why does he look so familiar? Especially when you look at this one. If I can show this one. Really looks like this guy on the right to me. Oh, I don't want to stay informed. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Oh, yeah. Doesn't he kind of look like that guy? I don't know, man. I think considering his dad is business partners with the guy whose son was going hospital to hospital looking for Charlie Kirk, I think perhaps at least needs to be considered. Needs to at least be considered, in my opinion. Especially considering he works at the hospital in the emergency department that they took him to. And remember, they drove past another hospital to go to that one. I think it needs to be considered. I think it at least needs to be considered. So are we done with the investigation into Zachariah Careshi? No. Believe it or not, wait, there's more. I want to introduce you to Zachariah Qureshi's brother. His name is Zane. This is his Facebook page. This is Zane Qureshi's Facebook page. That is Farsi written there, I believe. He speaks Arabic and Farsi. Maybe it's Arabic. It's one or the other. Zane Qureshi speaks Arabic and Farsi. That's Zane. Zane is in the military. How do I know that? I looked him up. His LinkedIn page talks about it. Even gives his unit. We'll talk about that too. Zane went to BYU, Global Supply Chain Management, National Security and Middle East Language Studies, and a National Guard soldier. Well, what do you do in the National Guard? Oh, he's a specialist in the 19th SFMICOUTNG. Well, what the hell is that? The 19th Special Forces Operation Group. This is Zane. This is what he does. This is the other son. This is the brother of the guy who was on a police dispatch, allegedly going hospital to hospital looking for Charlie Kirk. May not have had a gun. Well, what do we know about the 19th Special Forces Group? They are a Green Beret group. That is a Green Beret group. The 19th Special Forces. One of two National Guard groups of the United States Army Special Forces. Only two in the country. This is one of them. The 19th group, as it's sometimes called, is designed to deploy and execute 9 doctrinal missions: unconventional warfare, foreign internal defense, direct action, counterinsurgency, special reconnaissance, counterterrorism, information operations, counterproliferation, weapon of mass destruction, and security force assistance. Security force assistance. That's interesting. This is a Green Beret Special Forces group. They talk about their history of deployment. And let me tell you, these are some bad dudes. I looked them up. I spent some time digging around. These are not pansies. These are some of the baddest dudes on the planet. You don't accidentally catwalk your way into that group. Nobody backdoored their way into that group. Nobody accidentally joined the 19th. Did we dismiss too quickly Zachariah Qureshi and the radio dispatch calls identifying him allegedly as someone going door to door, hospital to hospital, potentially with a weapon, looking for Charlie Kirk? Did we dismiss it a little too early? Did we dismiss it too quickly? Did we allow our Operation Mockingbird media to convince us that he had nothing to do with it? Oh, trust me, guys, we totally looked into this. He didn't have anything to do with it. I'm the local affiliate in Utah. We're good. Look the other way. Look that way. Oh, go. Did we dismiss it too quickly? Have we gotten a satisfactory answer why his dad's company that had just sort of middled along for a long time all of a sudden gets $7.5 million in federal contracts a couple of weeks before this all kicks off? Did we dismiss a little too quickly the brother being a Green Beret? Did we dismiss a little too quickly his dad's business partner's son working at the emergency department where they took Charlie Kirk? In order to get to that one, they had to pass other hospitals that were more highly qualified. Did we dismiss all that too quickly? Did we dismiss too quickly that the guy looks just like the guy in the freaking stairwell? I'm not saying it's him, but dang it if it doesn't look like him. And it makes a lot more sense to me that it would be someone else then it would make sense to me that Tyler Robinson drove to campus, drove away from campus, walked to campus, walked away from campus, changed clothes again, drove to campus, walked away from campus. The timeline sucks. The Fed slop timeline you've been given absolutely sucks. It sucks. And it makes way more sense that other people were involved. I tend to believe that police dispatches, which are done pretty instantaneously, I'll say, I tend to believe that those police dispatches are given for a reason. When they name a specific car a black Toyota Corolla with this license plate, I tend to believe that black Toyota Corolla with that license plate was spotted. It doesn't make sense to me that it's not spotted. Why else would you call it in? I tend to believe if a police dispatch says, hey, we got a guy going hospital to hospital looking for the victim, I tend to believe somebody told the police a guy came to the hospital looking for the victim. And then another hospital said, well, somebody came to the hospital looking for the victim. And they go, oh my gosh, we got somebody going hospital to hospital looking for the victim. We need to track the guy down. What was he driving? Oh, he's in a Toyota Corolla. Oh, what was his license plate? Oh, that was his license plate? Well, comes back to this guy. Let's go pick him up. And I tend to believe when that guy who's going door to door, hospital to hospital, or is alleged to be doing that, when he's got a brother who's a Green Beret and a dad who's a military contractor who just got 2 really fat contracts out of nowhere, after years of just sort of piddling along at 50,000, 100,000, 300,000, and all of a sudden, boom, 7.5 million. Back to back, bang, bang, bang. I tend to believe it should be investigated. It should be noted. It should be discussed. Oh, and by the way, the guy walking the stairwell looks nothing like Tyler Robinson. Sorry, he doesn't. And it makes no sense that Tyler Robinson, he was coming in a maroon shirt. Then he was coming in a blue shirt. Then he was coming in a black shirt. Then he was driving. Then he was walking. Oh, he had a gun. It's totally in his pocket. I mean, it's insane. The fact that anyone is buying this story is absolutely ludicrous. It's beyond ludicrous. It's insane. It's nonsensical. It is impossible to believe. And here, staring at us in the face the entire time, are radio dispatches alerting us to this guy? And everybody's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. It makes a lot more sense to me that there's some connection here. That makes a lot more sense to me. Everything we talked about tonight, it makes a lot more sense to me. There's some connection there.